First to you, Maura, reactions to the attacks that we saw Donald Trump make. He was on Hannity last night during the town hall, and he sort of went after Kamala Harris on all the things that you'd expect. Immigration, but also personality, et cetera, including Walz. What do you anticipate is going to play out on the stage between the two of them? Will it look something similar to what we saw last night?
It's his MO. It's what his comfort zone is, to attack, and not actually talk about what he plans to do if he were to be elected president. And I think the American people at this point have to be a little bit tired of the same old show that we saw in 2016. It's not funny when this is somebody who is running to be the leader of the free world, and we have to take this seriously. And I think that there's an opportunity here for Kamala Harris to be the adult in the room and to stay calm and not engage with him, because it's not worth it, I don't think. I think, not getting flustered by him is going to be her best strategy. But yeah, I do think that he is just going to continue on the same way he has been carrying on, because that's all he knows how to do. He can't talk policy. He can't talk about plans for the future because he doesn't have any. And that's the unfortunate reality that Republicans need to separate themselves from when it comes to Donald Trump.
I do want to ask you about Harris's team. They've officially agreed to the debate rules. There was some dissension over the mics being muted. The muted mics are going to happen. CNN's reporting on each team's preparations now. And one thing that's kind of changed about Trump's prep includes the addition of Tulsi Gabbard. How might she make a dent in this, or maybe change what he might do? Because his advisors have been asking him to stop doing these attacks and focus on policy, but he hasn't done that. And he said, look, it works for me to be on the attack.
Well, look, Tulsi Gabbard, they had to bring her in because they needed a woman somewhere in his orbit to play Kamala Harris, or to at least be in the room. I don't think they're actually doing real debate prep. Real debate prep actually requires reinforcing and reenacting the debate. What he's doing is having consultations with people, including Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has debated Kamala Harris, so she does know how to do that. On the other hand, this is not how you run debate prep. Having run so many debate preps in my life, it's a very, very disciplined, probably the most disciplined thing you can do in the course of a campaign, and yet that is completely contrary to Donald Trump's personality. So Maura is absolutely right. He's going to revert back to what he's comfortable with, which is attacking Kamala Harris. The problem for him is that she's a woman and a woman of color, something that he doesn't know how to deal with, and somebody that he has never really been around. And so I don't know that his MO, the way it worked for him with Hillary Clinton potentially, is going to work with Kamala Harris. Hillary Clinton's negatives were baked in with people. People knew about Hillary Clinton. They're not so much baked in for Kamala Harris. And I think just the notion of him trying to use his physical presence the way he did with Hillary Clinton to try to muscle Kamala Harris out or to try to make her uncomfortable, it's going to backfire on him. He's going to do it because he can't help himself. If I were advising him, I would tell him to not, but I think we're going to see that regardless, because he doesn't listen to anybody but himself.
And she is, to be fair, a prosecutor, so she's been in battles before with very strong opponents on the other side. I do want to ask you about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney coming out and telling people in swing states in particular, because that's where this race is going to be won, according to all the polling that we've been looking at. She's telling them vote for Kamala Harris because she's also voting for her. Does she help? Does she get? Because obviously people that are Donald Trump supporters don't even think about Liz Cheney anymore as a conservative, even though she is a bona fide, looking at her votes, conservative. Will she make a dent? Will she make a difference with this?
I think the way that she did it actually does benefit some of those moderate Republicans and bring them over, because she didn't do it on this, I'm doing an announcement, this prep. She was asked about it during a conversation at Duke University on stage, sitting there pretty casually talking about what's at stake in this election, and said, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I really thought long and hard about this. And it wasn't some formal speech, some formal announcement. And I think by doing it that way, she's not trying to galvanize you. She's more or less explaining, here's where I'm at. And here's where people who are in swing states need to really consider. It's not just enough to do a write-in to say no to Donald Trump. If you're in a swing state, you've got it. Here's the choice we have. And I do think that'll move some people over, especially in Pennsylvania and different places where it really is important. And I think in the style that she did it, actually spoke volumes.
Yeah, and as some of the polling has shown, and John was reporting yesterday, that Pennsylvania is the key here.
Really
and then there's a couple of other states she needs to win, one other state he needs to win. But Pennsylvania is ground zero of trying to, whoever wins.
A suburban voter in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, who's typically Republican, or Northampton County, Pennsylvania, who's typically Republican, you can be comfortable voting for me because I'm not the communist Kamala, as he calls her. I'm somebody who can actually work with you as well.
She's trying to sort of get into that moderate realm to say that I can do all things, although sometimes you can't do all things for all people. Mara, when you look at Donald Trump's plan, he has talked about tariffs a lot. Economists have sort of freaked out about this and said, yikes, this could cause a real problem. But this appeals to his base. Does it appeal to other people, saying like, yeah, we should be worrying about the stuff that's in this country and taxing those who are trying to bring things into this country?
If he could stay on message, I'm sure it would appeal to his base, but he can't. And the problem is, too, is that the plan that he put out, and as he was railing on what Harris proposed as her economic plan, his plan that he proposed then showed to be almost 5 times more expensive than what her plan would do. And so that's the real problem he gets into, and he knows that, is when he starts talking policy, it just depends on the group he's talking to. If it makes Tulsi Gabbard feel better that he says IVF for all and then backtracks that same day, he'll do that because he really does believe that his MAGA base will stay with him no matter what he says. And that should be a concern. And again, next week, I think at the debate, it's really important that he gets hit on some of these policy issues and has to say it, right there in front of the, entire country, but also the world. Where do you stand on XYZ? Say it here. Because in these rallies, he's able to kind of flip-flop back and forth, but then hit on Kamala Harris for being flip-flopping on policy positions. And I think to Julie's point, it's really important that she is reaching out into the middle because Trump has largely abandoned an opportunity for the middle of the Republican Party, the middle of the country. Most people aren't on the fringes. They're somewhere in the middle. And he decided to neglect that entire opportunity he had, especially after the shooting. And it's up for grabs, and Kamala Harris is taking an opportunity here to try and get those votes.
Well, they've got a debate in 5 days. I know you guys will be glued to the TV. I know we will be glued as well. Margaret Gillespie, Julie Roginski, thank you so much for being